Hey friends, Stephanie Cortelier coming back from a weekend immersion that I want to share with you because it was just such a deep, amazing, beautiful, transformational spiritual experience. You know how I love trying different modalities, testing different facilitators, and having and creating space to allow these amazing experiences to flow. So here I am coming at you today. We're going to talk about a process called KAP. There it is, Kundalini Activation Process. What the heck is that? What is Kundalini? What does all of this mean? So I want to introduce you to this amazing woman, Anna Kaminski. She created an organization called the Healing Art of Awareness. I'm going to share with you shortly what it is all about. But she was my facilitator to my first KAP session, then my second KAP session, and then my weekend immersion that I just came off of. Which is why I'm here today to share with you. So I'm going to bring you to her site. Let's check this out together. So KAP initially, that's how you can see right here, was founded by this guy, Vinod Wong. And I'm going to just play a little video that kind of highlights what this is all about. Here we go.
All the practice that I've done, all the transmissions that I've received is what gets passed on. Basically, I'm just doing what this energy wants to do. KAP is the path of surrender. You simply open to what is, you're open to the force that's happening. What makes KAP different is that there's two transmissions going on at the same time, the Kundalini transmission and the non-dual states of consciousness transmission. An awakened Kundalini body is a bridge to take you deeper into consciousness and a bridge from your consciousness also back more into life.
So pretty powerful, right? A lot of amazing, interesting things that he shared. In essence, Kundalini Activation Process to me is energy work. And so I'm going to give you just a quick high level of my very first experience. What caught my attention for this, I saw an ad on Facebook that was essentially Anna showing her going around and activating people. So what do I mean by that? Touching certain chakra points. So whether it was on her forehead, on the chest, on the stomach, and as she was touching these points, you could just see these involuntary body movements, people doing dances, people doing different mudras with their fingers, people literally standing up and moving around or moving their spine in these just very interesting different ways. And you know me, I'm really into the very woo and out there things. And I was like, that looks amazing, because I've done body energy work before, but I've never seen energy, I've never actually felt energy move in the way that it looked like what was happening here. So like many of you, Facebook, I signed up, or Instagram, saw something, sounded interesting, signed up, get to a yoga studio. About 30 people in the room. It's my first experience, by the way. And Anna is there. She kind of introduces the experience and, you know, what is Kundalini? It's the energy force. It's our life force. And this is essentially, as we just heard from Vinod, a transmission that she was given as a facilitator from him directly. And it's pretty new because, if you noticed, it kind of came out in about 2019. And so she's kind of just giving us a high level of what this is. And then she does a demonstration where she essentially plays what I can just best describe as like rave music, like very intense, energetic music. And she invites certain people to lie down on their yoga mats. And by the way, I have to mention, my favorite part of all of this is there's nothing for us to do. So there's no, we can set intentions if you wanted to, but the invitation was just very open. All we had to do was lie down on a yoga mat and surrender, which sounds, of course, a lot easier than it is surrendering, right? Surrendering our thoughts, surrendering our body. I'll get to that in a bit. So the demonstration, here she is, crazy rave music, and she's inviting people to lie down, and it's all nonverbal, meaning, you know, she just kind of like badass, just like points her hand to someone and they lie down on a mat. And then she proceeds to just touch certain points on their body and like move. You just see her kind of like in this flow, moving energy. And of course, all of a sudden, not for everyone, because not everyone has the involuntary body movements, but certain people then get activated. So what does that mean to get activated? It's like they would start to do these kind of almost like body spasms, like moving like this, or like I said, some yoga poses, some just dancing. And at this point, I'm looking around the room, there's about 30 of us. And my initial thought is, there's no way. Like at this point, I'm pretty skeptical. I, of course, saw the video. It's what intrigued me to get there. But to see it, I had this skeptic in my mind. But at the same time, I also had a very just like, holy shit, what is this sorcery, witchcraft that I just signed up for? And I could just sense the same kind of energy from everyone else, like jaw dropped. Like, there's no way. This just seems out there. And at the same time, oh my God, like what is actually happening in this room right now? So she's just like touching people in the room and they're activating. And so now there's like 5 of the 30 of us that are just like flip-flopping on their yoga mats, right? And just like, oh my God, is this really real? And then it's like the music ends. She's like, all right, close your eyes, lay down on your mat. The only rule is do not open your eyes. Stay inside of your body. Stay surrendered. And we were off. And she says something along the lines of, I'll see you on the other side, which also freaked me out a little bit. Because I'm like, what other side? Where am I going? Where am I traveling to? So music plays. Stephanie's lying there. Just imagine me lying there on a mat. A little bit like, oh shit, like what did I sign up for still? And also just practicing my meditations, breathing, coming into my own surrendered state. I think by song number 2 or 3, I start melting into the music and I feel, it's kind of like when you just like inadvertently jerk, like your body kind of jerks, you know? I feel my shoulders just like something moved. It wasn't me, my body just moved. And eventually what started happening was like my body would just like, and it's still to this day, like when I still do KAP, it moves. Literally, I first feel it in my shoulders. So it's like this just like jolt. This jolt of energy. And then my hands just started flip-flopping. And it's funny because the first time I did it, I would come into that state of just allowing my body to move. And then I'd start to control it and go. So that's what's kind of nice too, is it's not like some voodoo magic where you're completely in a trance state. You have no idea what's going on. You're fully aware. You're fully conscious. And at the same time, my body's just moving and doing these things. And the more I surrendered and allowed my body to move, the crazier it got in a way, because I also realized I'm moving like these other people are moving. Like my chest just wants to come up. And if you imagine I'm like laying on a yoga mat and it's like, I just want to keep doing this. Just kind of opening up this space is what it felt like. Now the most powerful part. So we get to a point where it's funny because I've once again had never experienced energy move like that before for me, but also I am in a group of 30 people. The room's energy starts to accelerate. And I had, once again, never experienced that. Like I can sense and feel energy for the most part, but this was just to a whole nother level. And so some people are crying, some people are singing, some people, it's intense. And beautiful at the same time. It's like this very beautiful collective experience. And so as the energy is rising, in my particular case, in this first experience, everyone is laughing. Like there's so much laughter. And from the laughter, I don't know what it was, but I felt first a knot, in which they said can happen, like this knot in my belly. So in kind of my solar plexus. And the knot, as my body's still kind of moving, and I feel this knot, and this knot starts to move up to my chest. And I get hit with this wave of sadness, of sorrow, of grief, like this intense grief and loss and just anger, like all of it floats up to my chest. And Anna kind of works her way around the room, and like the timing of it was perfect. So she gets to me at this point, and I have just this energy at this point in my chest that I just feel this kind of like erupting wave of, if you will, that I just start sobbing like I've never sobbed before. I mean, like heaving, sobbing. And this is so crazy, but I scream. It's funny because she says, some people scream. And of course, the first thought I had was, that would never be me. Never in a million years. Like, I'll cry. Like, I'm pretty emotional, but screaming, no, not my thing. But I let out, you guys, like this raw, wild, animal-like scream, and I just feel all the energy flood like a not a tornado, but like a volcano erupting is literally the best way I could describe it. Just like pouring out of my chest. But the most beautiful, intimate part of it was, because there's still that little voice in me like, oh my God, what are you doing? You're just screaming with these strangers. This is crazy. And yet here she's like here working the energy with me. And she's just so lovingly saying like, I'm here. I know. And it was just the most like nurturing, soothing voice to just make it okay. And the best part was, as I just allow myself to scream, she starts to scream with me too, which is like this, that like it's okay to scream, totally normal. And so it just amplified the experience for me of just this full body release. My body was shaking for about like what felt like 10 or so minutes after that, just like still like all this energy, rush after this full explosion of release. So as you can imagine, which was funny because it was like the second to last song where all this happens. And she has kind of everyone at the very end share their experience. And so I was like, well, I was the screamer in the room, like I literally would never have thought in a million years that was me. But just let it all out. And it was so intense for me to feel like all these years of suppressed emotions that I just allowed that to come and flow through me. It was powerful, was magical. It was like within that grief was also freedom, is really what it felt like. And so, as one can imagine, anyone who knows me knows that I was completely addicted afterwards, in a good way of like, oh my God, I have no idea. I still have no idea what that was. And I want more of that because it just felt so good. I really think each of us has a very big scream that just needs to be let out. Some of you are probably screaming on your own, which, hey, high five to you. But as someone like me who's way too controlling and freakish can't show my emotions, it just felt so freeing. Fast forward, here I am. I signed up for everything from there. I went back for a second time to her KAP sessions. Then she had a weekend immersion. So that's why I wanted to share with you what was the weekend immersion like, to really be immersed in this space of, in essence, it's 2 days is what she put on, where each day we had, the first day we had 2 KAP sessions, and in between we had a non-dual transmission, which I will shoot a different video to share a little bit more. What the heck does that mean? Because she drew a beautiful graphic. So watch the second video to get a sense of what that is. But in essence, some of my greatest takeaways from day 1 and day 2 of doing more of this KAP, this Kundalini activation process, and also what I'm noticing since, it's been kind of a couple months since I think I started early April. Today is May 8th that I'm shooting this video. So it's been a couple months. Just like a month, but I've noticed already it's a practice of surrender. And I had picked that word surrender in 2021 and have been on that journey of surrender. But KAP to me is an embodied practice of surrender, because in order to feel the energy, I have to be in a completely surrendered state. And surrendering the mind and coming beneath the mind and really tuning into my body. And the most interesting for me is how much power we have in our bodies, you guys. Like, it's stored in there. And the trauma, we know this, there's science about this. Trauma is stored in our bodies. And so Kundalini, having worked in a mental health organization myself, we talked about this, but it's the only ways that we solve for it is through talk. And it's like, that's such a limiting way of looking at it. Like, KAP is a process, is an opportunity to allow your body to speak, allow your body to release, because it has that innate wisdom and it knows where to move and it knows how to do things. So it's funny because I have a bad back, and this whole weekend my body I felt like it was like doing these like kind of serpent-like movements, which is like Kundalini, right? But it was moving my back in ways that I've never moved myself before, nor did I know that I can. So I was in like yoga bridge poses, which, guys, I didn't even know that I can bend backwards because it's too painful for me to try. But I was like innately I was doing these moves and just allowing the freedom of my body to speak and to release things that consciously I might not know are there, but that are there. What's fascinating, though, in reflecting over this weekend experience with Anna, with the community that she brings together, it's such a beautiful spiritual community. So to be witnessed by others, but also to be in space with others. We did a practice called radical intimacy, where we look into a stranger's, what started off as a stranger became, there was a depth thereafter, of course, but just the practice of slowing down to look into someone's eyes. And I've done it for a couple minutes, but this was extended periods of time, and it was so profound. And what I realized is I've had this goal for such a long time to be at peace, to not have to ride these high waves and low waves, or to be able to ride the highs and the lows with this equanimity. And this entire weekend, since I started KAP with that big full release, it's like this weekend it was kind of like, I didn't have these huge emotional releases. I had maybe 1 or 2 small, like crying, and like I did have a couple screams and I felt more comfortable screaming. So like practicing using my voice, but really it was, I'm learning to like trust myself, and it's like KAP's allowing me to build a relationship with myself. And the craziest part, or what I'm most grateful for, is I felt like this clean slate. I felt like this very at peace person. So anyone I was doing this exercise with, I was just staring into their eyes. It was like I was able to feel their pain and their sorrow hold it with my being and help transcend it into something beautiful. So like I had moments where it'd be like we were crying together, and I'd be able to even receive that, sorrow or grief or loss or whatever it is, but then to be able to also transform it with a smile, with a love, and feel the beauty of it. And so the greatest message I received over the weekend was that pain is so beautiful. Like, in order for us to really have love, we also experience suffering as a part of that. But to see the beauty in all of it, like, it was just so perfectly tied together. And I kept getting that message over and over. So, by the way, this morning I woke up and I was just overwhelmed by, just this. It's funny because it's like, I was like, I didn't feel a lot of, I felt emotion, but I didn't feel like it was mine. I felt a lot of like, I was just in such a surrendered, open space of my own emotions that this morning it was like, I had this wave of emotion, but it was love. It just felt like I was just crying, and it was just like, I'm so in love with life, like how beautiful these dualities are, and we get to experience it all. And so I'm sharing really this video with my heart to say that this is such an amazing practice. If you've never tried it, try it. I definitely think it's for people who are a little further along in your spiritual journey, in the sense that if you've never tried energy work, maybe try something else first and then check out KAP. Or hey, if you're like me, you're like, I just want to go straight for the craziest thing that I can find, go for it. But I find that it works really well. And I had a chance at this weekend immersion to talk to people who've done KAP for 20, 50 sessions. I'm like on session number 6, right? So I'm like just starting out this journey. But how much more free that energy flows for them. And really, it's how do we take this and integrate it into our everyday life, which is what I'm really passionate about. And I'm finding that, and something Anna says that I really respect is, it's like the spark, like coming to KAP and having these experiences is a spark, but it's how it gets integrated into your everyday lives. And what I'm finding is, for me, it's releasing, and it's also allowing me to tap into that playfulness and that trust, again, that relationship to my body, to myself, to come home really to ourselves. And she always says, the best is yet to come. And so just this morning alone, this kind of overwhelming feeling of love, and to the point that it's like bringing so many tears to my eyes, and just really looking at my life and going, yes, like this is it. Like we get to have these experiences. We get to meet different modalities, and I'm eager as a part of this YouTube channel to share more of these amazing modalities that exist in the world. So with that, my friends, I should say, thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of my community, being a part of my life in your own unique, special ways. And check out, once again, I'm going to put it up on the screen for you, Kundalini Activation Process. If you haven't already, highly recommend Anna Kaminski. There's also tons of facilitators. So if you don't live in California like I do, you could probably find other facilitators elsewhere. But I will be back for more of this KAP. I definitely see it being a part of just one of those processes, one of those programs, those modalities that I'm directly, innately drawn to, and how we get to feel energy in such cool, unique ways. So that, friends, thank you. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you next time for the next spiritual experience.